What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another price guide for vintage mint on card Kenner Star Wars figures. And we're going to be kind of all over the map. I didn't organize them by release date or anything like that. I think they're mainly organized by who the seller was and if they had a lot of items going. And as you can see by this thumbnail, these were all graded vintage Kenner that were sold by Brian's Toys, and they were some pretty stunning items that he had for sale. And for the most part, they came in below expectations, with the exception of the Yoda, which I'll show you in a second. But, as you guys know, I unboxed right around Christmas time one of those 48 back C Revenge of the Jedi Yodas, and one of them did sell. It was the same grade. Admittedly, it was AFA versus CAS, but the price was pretty surprising. The rest of them, I actually thought there were some pretty good deals in there. So I just want to say thanks to all of you who watched the channel. Be sure to like like this video if you like what you see. It helps out the algorithms and all that crap with YouTube. So let's go ahead and dig in. So we got a couple of different 21 back Death Star droids that sold. One of them was pretty pristine and one of them was not. And this is the one that was not. It had a big scratch, as you can see on the left-hand side, and some sticker damage from where the sticker was attempted to be removed. Just leave the sticker, folks. Don't try to remove the sticker, because all you're going to do is cause damage, and it doesn't affect the grade at all. The back of the card looked perfect. It was gorgeous. The actual blister was crystal clear and in great shape there. So it's a shame that they tried to remove that sticker, because it probably would have helped out the grading, although that scratch probably would have automatically dropped it back down to like a 75 at best. But that one sold in an auction for $470 on December 17th. And then this one also closed on the same day, and it did admittedly have a color breaking kind of crease through the ages 4 and up that kind of went down there. That was really the only major big flaw. It had a target price sticker unpunched. The blister was in great shape. One little kind of pull away down there in the lower right hand corner, but my guess is this would probably grade out at a 75 plus or possibly an 80, depending on the mood of the grader that day. So this one was in better shape and unpunched and all that. So that one did sell for $820. So that shows you the big price disparity between, on the same day, same card back. I think it might be a different card back, but I think they're both 21. They're definitely both 21s. I just don't know if they're 21 A's and B's. They look the same. Let's see that one. And then let's check out the back of this one. Yeah, so the same card, 21A, I think. And, the price disparity is pretty wide, though. It's almost double the price. So it all comes down to condition. But, I just thought it was interesting that the same card back, same day, sold, and there was such a huge price disparity. And, it just all comes down to the condition. So don't remove those price stickers. This seller was smart and left those target price stickers intact. Here was a CAS 85 R2-D2 sensor scope on the 77 back A. This one obviously had a yellow blister, but it was an 85 grade, and it was unpunched, no price sticker. Pretty nice looking item there. That one sold in an auction for $342.80, which, again, if you can live with a yellow blister, that's not a bad deal at all to me. I think that's a pretty decent deal, just given that even with these kind of yellowed blisters in this kind of condition, though, ungraded, you're probably talking close to $300, if not more. So pretty good deal there. Here was a Yoda. It was kind of tatty. The blister was kind of crunched up, as you can see there in that one, but it was clear, so that was kind of a plus. This is the 77A, and it's the brown snake Yoda. This one did have 2 price stickers. It was punched. That one sold for $371. I bid on one of these on Hakes, and I think the final sales price was $1,100 or $1,200. It went too high for me, but that just shows you the big disparity, depending on how good that blister is. And this one was clear, but it was very, very crunched, unfortunately. So that really held the price down. Same seller also had this very heavily yellowed Boba Fett 77A with the coin offer on the front. This is probably like a 75 grade at best. This one sold for $961, and we've got another Boba Fett a little bit later on that LJ's Card Shop sold, I believe, that we'll take a look at. It might be the same card, I'm not sure, but this one definitely had the coin offer. The other one did not. Pretty cool to see the coin offer with Boba Fett on there. It's a shame that the blister was so yellowed, but $961 took that home. Same seller also had this clear blister Jawa on the 65 back C, I think it was. I can't remember. One of you guys corrected me on it. But it's the Emperor offer sticker and in pretty good shape overall. And that one sold for $406. So, again, it's a high price, but it's a clear blister Jawa. Tough to get those clear blister. I've seen them in AFA 80s go for $600 plus, believe it or not. So $406 seems to be about right. Here's that LJ's Card Shop example, and this is actually the 65C. The other one was the 77 back A, and this one did have a yellow blister. The yellowing wasn't nearly as bad on this one, and it was already graded. It was an archival case, AFA 75, 75, 80, 85 were the subscores. Punched example, Lionel price sticker, and that one sold for $13.75. So, you can kind of compare and contrast 65C for $13.75 already graded versus the 77A. That's probably about the same grade, but more heavily yellowed. That sold for $9.61. So a couple of data points for those of you looking for a mint on card Boba Fett. LJ's Card Shop also had a mint and sealed box AFA 80 Tauntaun, and that was a really nice example. $8.55 was the final sales price on that one. And that seems to be about right. I mean, they're kind of all over the map. These and the Wampa, I always get the price points mixed up. I feel like the Wampa goes for slightly less, and then the Tauntaun goes for slightly more. But I find it harder to find a Wampa where that flap on the packaging is not folded. So, in general, I feel like it's easier to find a Tauntaun in pretty decent shape. But this one was already graded AFA 80, $8.55. That seems to be about the right price. Next up, he also had a 41 back D AFA 75 plus clear blister R2D2. So this is the first 12 R2D2 before they switched over to the sensor scope on the 45 backs. And this was a beautiful unpunched example, really clean. It looks to me, I mean, quite honestly, it looks better than a 75 to me. It looks very, very nice. So again, whoever the grader was that day probably got the breakup notice by text from his girlfriend that she doesn't want to be with him anymore. So he gave this one a 75 plus when it probably should have been an 80. $5.90 on that one. Only one bid, which I was surprised by. I thought for sure this would sell for higher than that. Earlier this year, there was an AFA 80 for this exact same card back that was over $1,000, if memory serves. It sold for over $1,000. So $5.90 for a slightly lower grade, 75 plus. That's a steal. And admittedly, the market is down from when that other one sold. But $5.90, I think, is very, very fair for the last R2D2 solid dome before they switched over to the sensor scope for the 45 back. Next up, LJ's Card Shop also had this Kenner Canada Yoda 32B. Not as tough to find. I mean, it's harder to find than the US 32B, but it's still relatively straightforward to find one of these. 75 plus archival case, 80, 75, 85 were the subgrades on that one. And again, that's pretty harsh. I mean, I guess I can see the 75 for the blister score because it was a pretty pronounced ding on this one. So I think this grade was probably fair. But, that one sold for $370. I mean, again, $370 is what these would go for ungraded, even in this condition. So I think that was a great deal. Really, really good deal on that one. Just given what we see the AFA 80s and 85s go for, $370 seems way too low to me. Really good deal on that one. And now let's dig into Brian's Toys. Brian's Toys had some incredible items for sale, and I was really shocked by how low the sales prices were. This is definitely the biggest shock. A 12-back A Vader. Now, this does not have the SKU on the footer stand, so it's kind of the second generation of 12-back A's, if you will. But it's an AFA 80, straight 80s for the subscore, unpunched, no price sticker, and it sold for $2,400. That seems really low relative to some of the recent sales. I didn't bother to go on Hakes to check out what the last 12-back A Vader sold for, but I can guarantee you it was quite a bit more than $2,400. That to me was a great deal. It's a lot of money, don't get me wrong. Me personally, I'm not spending that kind of money on a 12-back, but if you are, I think that now is a good time to be getting them. I mean, that's a great price and certainly well down from where these were going for earlier this year. He also had a 12-back B Luke Skywalker. That one was graded 75. It was a punched example. 75, 75, 80 were the subscores. Again, it presents a lot better than a 75 to me. And that one sold for $20.25. I thought that was a very fair price. And, again, this figure got an 80 score even with this white. It might have been like some kind of weird paint defect. It may not be degrading because that to me looks like it was missed during the painting process. But I just thought that was interesting that it still got the 80 grade, even though it had a pretty obvious kind of flaw to the paint scheme. And this is probably why I got the 75, is this a big crease right here. So that was nice of Brian's Toys to include that. So because you can't really see it right here. Looking at this photo, it's very barely noticeable right there. So I thought that was good that he included that fold there to show that. But anyway, 2025, that's probably about right. I mean, that seems very fair. I mean, I still think the Vader so far is the best deal. I mean, that was an incredible deal in my opinion. Next up was the Han Solo. This is the 20 back A. This is the large head Han, graded 80 plus. I thought this was another very good deal. 1302. I mean, I was thinking like $1,800 when I saw this one get listed. So 80 plus grade, straight 80s for the sub score, but it got the 80 plus, unpunched, no price sticker, 1302. That's a really good price in my mind, and probably about as good of a deal relative to the 12 back A Vader. I mean, this is a very, very good deal. Here's the one that I wanted to show you, and I alluded to this one in my unboxing when I got my 48C Revenge of the Jedi Yoda back. Now, mine is the Cater gray head factory, gray head variant. I don't think that's the case with this one. It might just be the lighting, but this looks like the light green head. But mine was the gray head Cater factory. This was also from the Cater factory. So, you know, it's not like the Cater equals gray head every time. That's not the case. Some of the Cater factory examples had this light green head. But anyway, mine graded 80 with CAS, and I sold it for 40% less than what this one went for. So I feel really good about that because I got my money out of it. I didn't really make any money, but the guy that bought it has to be really happy, and I'm happy for him. So, you know, if I had seen this one, I probably, honestly, I mean, no offense, but I probably would have priced it a little higher. But this one went live after I had already pre-sold it. So, but I'm at, you know, in the end of the day, I'm actually happy because a collector got something for 40% less than what it went for on eBay, and he got the gray head, harder to find variant for Yoda versus just the standard light green head. So, but this one sold for $14.52 in an auction, and congrats, man! I hope you're happy with that one. And you know, that's just just the way it rolls sometimes in collecting. And you know, quite honestly, I think it's just the way it should be in collecting. I try not to overprice my stuff when I list it on Rogue 5 Toys, and I try to be fair, and they usually sell very quickly as a result. So, but anyway, I thought that was really cool that you know, he got such a big discount relative to what this one sold for. Brian's Toys also had the 65C yellowed 80 grade Stormtrooper. This was a punched example with a price sticker, 80, 85, 80 on that one, and pretty heavily yellowed. Not as bad as that one Boba Fett that was ungraded, the 77A, but you know, pretty moderately yellowed. And that one sold for $3.92. That seems about right. I mean, I've seen clear blister Return of the Jedi Stormtroopers in this grade go for over double this price. So, you know, people will pay up for that. Next up, here is another 77A. Now, the yellowing on this one's not nearly as bad. You can see that the yellowing versus that ungraded one that I showed you that sold for 900 something. This yellowing is not nearly as bad. This is nice. And this one graded 75, about the same grade as what I expect the other one would sell for. 75, 85, 85 on that one. 1626 was the sales price on that one. So you got three different Boba Fett sales. The 65 back graded AFA 75, I already forgot what the number was. You had the ungraded 77A that sold for 900 plus, and then you had the graded 77A that sold for 1626. So here's that other one that sold for 961. And here's the 65C that sold for $13.75. So it seems like $1,300 to about $1,700 is about the going rate now for a Return of the Jedi Boba Fett. And think about how far that's fallen, folks. I mean, during the book of Boba Fett, there were mint on card Boba Fetts in this kind of grade, maybe 80 grade, that were going for $2,500 plus. So big drop on Boba Fett mint on cards. Here was another beauty. This was an AFA 85 Darth Vader. Now, it was not labeled as the Made in Mexico, but you can see very clearly down here on the bottom of the back of the card, Made in Mexico, and it also does have that little punch on the Return of the Jedi. So, so this is the Made in Mexico Lily Letty version, and that's why it's clear. I mean, you know, they usually stay clear because they're a different type of blister than what the U.S. Kenner cards had, and I've got this one in an AFA 85. So I was very curious to see what this one would sell for, and it sold for $737. Now, the subgrades, I think mine are straight 85s, but don't quote me on that. But this one had 80, 85, 85. And I was thinking 700-ish would be about the right number. I think I bought mine a long time ago, and I paid a lot for it at the time. So I don't know if mine's punched or unpunched. I didn't look at it, but anyway, I thought this was about the right price point because prices have come back down a little bit. And, you know, 9 months ago, this would have been more like $900, but $737 seems to be about right for that one. That's a price that I think is very fair for what it is. Next up, we've got an ungraded, unpunched Han Solo in carbonite, and I knew it was going to go for big money. It looked to be really clean. It had one little ding on the blister right there. But these are pretty fragile, but I looked it over pretty good. I don't think there's any cracks to the blister on this one. This is a notorious one that cracks really easily, but it has, you know, a little bit of wear right here on the back of the card. But a very nice example. Probably would grade out at about a 75. That one sold for $12.50, so big number on that one. But it looks clear. It looks like a clear blister. Maybe I'm wrong. This is one that does yellow sometimes, and maybe it is, but it looks clear at first blush. But who knows? Anyway, that one did sell for $12.50 on 43 bids, so there was a lot of action on that one. And here's one I sent to my Patreon supporters, and it got snapped up immediately. I was very tempted to buy it myself, so thank you, whoever bought it. But this was a die-cast Cloud Car clear blister as well, and I thought this was in great shape. I mean, it wasn't perfect. It had some kind of like weird spider veins going on the back. You know, probably about a 75 would be my guess on it. You had an outside chance at an 80, you know, if the grader was being generous, but I think with those kind of weird waves on the back, it could be water damage, I don't know. But I sent it to him. I said, hey, it's, you know, it's not the highest grade, but it is a clear blister, and this is kind of a good example of one you could just slap into like a, you know, a case shell or, you know, an acrylic case from Ian's GW Acrylics, and you know, you don't need to grade this, but it would display really nicely, much better. You know, it displays much better from the front than the back. But I thought that was really nice. Clear blister as well. That sold for $378 US dollars or 300 pounds. Again, I thought that was very fair, so that's why I sent that out to my Patreon supporters. I assume one of you guys got that. Tough to find that with a clear blister. Next up, another one I sent out to my Patreons at a buy it now alert, and they did buy it. And I might have also included this in a what to buy video. But this was, I think, a clear blister Luke Skywalker in his battle poncho, unpunched, one price sticker. It was listed at $420. And, you know, again, I don't know if it's clear, but it's close to clear with the blister. The inner tray looks clear, and you know, to me, it looks clear. I mean, this is a clear blister. And I thought that was a screaming deal, so I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked that one of y'all picked that up. So congrats on that one. You know, it wasn't perfect, but it was pretty darn close. I think it would grade an 80. Probably a 75 for the card, 80 or 85 for the figure, 80 or 85 for the blister. It would probably round up to an 80. So if you happen to be the one who bought this and you end up getting it graded, leave me a comment in a future video and let me know what it got. But I think it'll get an 80 personally. You have an outside chance at an 80 anyway. I mean, I'd be shocked if it didn't get an 80 personally. Wampa, this was another one I included in a what to buy, and they are in a buy it now alert for my Patreon supporters, and that got snapped up pretty quick. It's sold for $250. This is Wampa on the Power of the Force card. Yellow blister, which is common, but it was just immaculate card for $250. I mean, you know, a loose Wampa complete is like, what, $110 minimum? And, you know, it did have a little, it looked like it had a little bit of a crack on there. No, this is the one we talked about. Now I remember this one. This is the one I included in a what to buy video because I thought that the inner tray at first was a crack. So this is the one I did include in a what to buy video. But you guys snapped it up immediately. I assume it was a Patreon supporter because it sold before the video even went live. So I'm glad that one of y'all were able to get that. But $250 was the sales price on that one. And if you happen to get that one, let me know what you get. I think that gets an 80 easily, if not an 80 plus. I think that'll get an 80 plus all day long. So, but if you happen to get it and you get it graded, send it, you know, leave a comment in a future video and let me know. I try to guess the grades for you guys in those buy it now alerts, and this one looks super clean to me. So, but anyway, just some more data for those of you out there toy hunting. I hope you enjoyed this look at recent sales, and I'll be back very soon.